Another important bit of testimony was also kept away from the jury, statements Bundy made to police officers at the time of his arrest in Pensacola. Officer Norm Chapman says Bundy was depressed, tired, on the verge of breaking down when he was asked about Chi Omega.
Mr. Bundy kind of dropped his head. He, in a very sincere tone, tears in his eyes, he looked at Officer Patchen and Officer Bodiford, and he told them the evidence was there to look for.
And the officer says Bundy admitted to having antisocial fantasies.
To keep these fantasies going, he had to commit crime, not crimes, but he had to do things to keep these fantasies going that were very much against society. And that the actual act itself was always a downer for him.
Bundy also hinted that he might have committed as many as 100 murders, according to the officers. But the judge refused to allow the jury to hear about it because Bundy may not have had access to legal advice when he made the statements. But the jury did hear circumstantial evidence supporting the prosecution, testimony that Bundy moved into a rooming house a third of a mile from the sorority just 1 week before the murders, testimony that he was at a discotheque next door to the sorority shortly before the murders and arrived at his rooming house just after the attack. And then a star witness, Nita Neary, who entered the sorority house just after the murders. She saw a man leaving, carrying a club.
He had his hand on the doorknob and he was just over like this a little bit with a club in his hand.
Bundy's lawyers had tried to keep Neary off the stand because her testimony was so damaging.
Do you recall the man that you saw at the door of the Chi Omega house on the morning of January 15, 1978?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And is that man in the courtroom today?
Yes, he is.
Would you point him out for us, please?
But was it really Bundy at the door? The defense says Neary never got a good look at the man. Lawyers focused on discrepancies in her testimony.
For example, let me point out here where the sketch reflects the hand over the doorknob.
Yes.
Is there not a discrepancy where you had previously indicated that the gentleman had his hand underneath the doorknob in a position like that?
Yes.
So in this sense,
There's no question that Neary's testimony was damaged by the defense lawyers. It was brought out that she had seen newspaper photos of Bundy before picking him out of a lineup, and she certainly knew that Bundy was a suspect before pointing him out. But Neary said she was sure Bundy was the man, and her testimony probably had a considerable impact on the jury.